Now, you might be entitled to thousands of dollars, and we promise you this is not a scam that we're letting you into here. Australians have over $1 billion waiting to be claimed from lost super accounts to Medicare rebates.
Yeah, so how do you know if you're entitled to those extra funds, and how do you get it back? News Corp's cost of living editor John Rolfe is with us. A lot of this unclaimed money of this $1 billion is in lost super accounts, which is a message time and time again, and yet we all still leave it there apparently.
Yeah, look, we've got to do something about it. It's our money. It shouldn't be sitting in the coffers of either the federal or the state or territory governments, and we can do something about it. It doesn't take very long. It's not difficult. If you want your unclaimed super back, all you have to do is go to the ATO website. There are those out there who would offer to do this for you, but you shouldn't pay them because these things are free and it's quick and it's not very difficult. So that is where you go to get your super back, and that is the biggest pot of money. Now, sometimes I wonder whether or not the federal government really wants us to have this money back, because they get the investment earnings. Now, they would claim that they're protecting you from fees because the money that is, the super that is lost is not being eroded by fees, and it's being paid a paltry sum, less than 2%, so as it's not going backwards. But the investment earnings, and if you consider that super funds have been going up by about 10% a year, year on year, they've been pocketing that.
That 8% difference.
That's right. So they've been taking an ever-increasing number of funds. They've been increasing the threshold from 2,000 to 4,000 to 6,000 and taking all that money from us. And then they're taking the investment earnings from that. So I always think they're sort of in two minds about whether they really want us to have that money back. That was a move that was under the Labor Party, but it wasn't something that was reversed by this government. And so I think that we have to take responsibility. It's so often the case. We can't rely upon others to do anything for us, and we should take the 5 minutes to claim back this money. Look, I've done this for people. I found $790,000 for one particular family.
Way.
Yes. So I set out.
And in less than 5 minutes flat, you reckon?
No, it didn't. I actually had to door knock an entire street of about 100 houses down in
so that was worth it at least, right?
Yeah. In the end, I did find the people. I needed a bit of help from a private investigator, but I got there in the end. So look, that's at one extreme, of course. It's much easier if you've got all the details yourself, because it's harder for me when it's not my money that I'm looking for. But the incentive is there for you to go looking, and it's not just unclaimed super. There's dividends that are held by states, and I really think that it's in people's interests to go looking for this money, and each state does maintain a registry. And if you don't know, and if you've moved around, if you search on the Victorian registry, it does the whole of the country in one go.
Okay, absolutely important there when it comes to superannuation, but I wasn't expecting there to be $110 million in unpaid Medicare rebates, John. Does anybody know this?
Look, I'd never thought about Medicare rebates, but it's as a result of the decline of cheques, because people haven't supplied their bank account details to Medicare, and so they're issuing cheques, but they're not going to the right people, and they can't be paid electronically because, for whatever reason, these people have decided not to provide their bank account details to Medicare. Now, I know when I go to Medicare, they simply deduct it because I've provided my details. And also, there are even bigger savings once you hit certain thresholds under the system, but not for those people because they haven't provided their details. It's in people's interest to provide this. I don't think that the federal government is going to spy on you simply because they have your bank account details. I get it. Privacy is really important. It's increasingly important in the modern world, but I don't think you need to be scared of this. Yeah,
you cannot avoid that one if you want to get your own money back. And I was interested in this one, about $600 million, so 6 times what's unclaimed in Medicare rebates, about $600 million sitting in bank accounts. Unclaimed. How can it be unclaimed if it's in a bank account with your name and all of your contact details attached?
Because if you don't touch that account after a period of time, I think it's 7 years, it's declared dormant, inactive, and it gets swept away. Now, you're always entitled to that money. You never lose entitlement to that money, but you no longer have access to it, and it becomes somewhat laborious to have to get it back. So, it can happen. People's dolomite accounts, old accounts, and you can understand how it happens with super because people change jobs, but your super fund will amalgamate, of course, your funds for you into one because they want it all under their roof so as they can earn their percentage off the entire amount, which would be a larger amount. So, look, if you were to take half an hour, I bet that a lot of Australians, a lot of this audience would find money. it's worth a search. I do it for my family all the time. They're always pleased when I tell them they don't have any missing.
Well, everybody at home kind of puts these things off. So you're saying if you set up a, I don't know, like how long would it take? An afternoon? A Saturday afternoon?
I don't think it would take an afternoon. I don't think it would take an afternoon. Where it has proven difficult for me personally in the past is where it's, say, my parents have passed away and there's some unclaimed money in my parents' name. And I had difficulty establishing a connection to that because it was a few years ago and you have to find the documentation. But if it's for yourself, it's not that difficult. You shouldn't need a whole afternoon to do it. I don't suggest, you know, that you spend your Saturday afternoons doing it. I did spend Sunday afternoon trying to update all of the security on my family's iPads, iPhones and our home computers. I don't recommend people waste their time doing that either.
That is not a fun Saturday afternoon job. However, we were just talking last night about all the very credible scams around at the moment and all these things that can go wrong. So sounds like time well spent, even though it was painful. John, thank you so much. We'll chat to you a bit later, talking childcare costs later with John.